a peaceful Earth, where heroes like Superman, Hulk, and Iron Man are not just warriors. They are the everyday protectors of humanity, earning trust and love from every corner of the world. But tranquility is shattered when a monstrous alien council, led by the shape-shifting Vorax, invades Earth, twisting reality itself and throwing the world into chaos. With their powers rendered nearly useless by Vorax's manipulation of time and space, the Avengers must face their own inner demons before they can unite against the alien threat. As the battle rages on, unexpected betrayals and shocking alliances turn the tide, forcing the heroes to make impossible choices for the survival of Earth. In the ultimate showdown, the fate of humanity rests on a shocking decision that will change the Avengers forever. One hero's sacrifice could be the key to saving the world, but at a terrible cost. The calm before the storm. The sun hung high over Earth, casting a golden glow on the peaceful world below. From the bustling streets of New York City to the quiet farmlands of Kansas, humanity thrived. It was a world where superheroes were no longer legends or distant figures in the sky. They were present among the people, standing beside them, protecting them not just from grand threats, but from the small, everyday dangers of life. Superman, the Man of Steel, stood in the heart of Metropolis, his cape fluttering in the wind as he spoke to a group of children gathered outside a school. He listened intently as one excited child asked him about his adventures in space. With a warm smile, he crouched down to their level, his eyes glowing softly with the knowledge of galaxies far away. Sometimes, he said, the greatest adventures are right here. Helping someone, saving a life, making a difference. That's the real mission. The children cheered, thrilled to be in the presence of their hero. It was these moments that made Superman feel grounded, that reminded him of why he chose Earth over his distant homeworld of Krypton. He wasn't just a savior. He was a friend, a protector. He was a symbol of hope, not just for Metropolis, but for the entire world. Across the Atlantic, Thor stood at the edge of a battlefield in the heart of a war-torn village in Europe. But this wasn't a traditional battle. It was a mission of mercy. The god of thunder used his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, to lift debris off trapped civilians, his thunderous power an instrument of salvation. As he lifted an overturned car, a child's face peeked out from behind the wreckage, eyes wide in wonder. Thor winked at the child, offering a reassuring smile as the boy ran toward his parents. Thor's work wasn't always about striking down enemies. Sometimes, it was about offering hope in the darkest of times. In the skies above, Iron Man soared through the air, his arc reactor glowing brightly beneath his chest plate. His latest suit, a perfect blend of technology and power, hummed as he zoomed past skyscrapers. Below him, traffic flowed smoothly, and people went about their daily routines, unaware that Iron Man was making sure the skies remained clear of threats. As he flew, Tony Stark couldn't help but smile. The world had come a long way since the days when he first donned the suit to fight terrorists. Now he was helping create a safer world, using his genius to solve problems before they became disasters. And yet, even in this time of peace, each hero felt an undercurrent of unease, an inexplicable tension in the air, like the calm before the storm. It wasn't just the Avengers who had forged these deep connections with humanity. Spider-Man, the friendly neighborhood hero, swung through the bustling streets of New York with unmatched agility, always staying one step ahead of danger. Today, he wasn't facing a supervillain or an alien invasion. No, today Spider-Man was saving a cat stuck in a tree. To the average person, it was just another small act of kindness. But to the people of Queens, it was everything. It was a reminder that even in a world filled with godlike powers, superheroes were still just people, and they cared. "Don't worry, Mrs. Carmichael, your cat's safe," Spider-Man called out as he gently lowered the frightened animal to the ground. The elderly woman smiled, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. She patted Spider-Man on the shoulder before walking away, her cat now comfortably nestled in her arms. Peter Parker's heart swelled with pride as he watched the woman walk off, her life momentarily free from worry. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It wasn't the usual adrenaline rush that came with saving someone. It was something more, something darker. For Captain America, The weight of leadership was always present. He had fought in wars, led armies, and stared down the most terrifying threats humanity had ever faced. But as he walked through the streets of Washington, D.C., interacting with civilians who recognized him as a symbol of unity and strength, Steve Rogers felt a new sense of responsibility. He had always known that his role as Captain America wasn't just about the shield or the battles. It was about inspiring others to be their best selves. Today, he visited a local veterans hospital, speaking with those who had fought for their country, offering words of encouragement to those who needed it most. His deep blue eyes never wavered, his unwavering resolve a testament to the strength of his character. As he walked away from the hospital, he couldn't help but notice the quiet whispers in the crowd. The unease in the air had spread even here. Something was coming, something big. As each hero felt the tension build, they could not have known that their peaceful world was about to be shattered by an enemy more terrifying than any they had ever faced. It began with the first flicker in the sky, a distortion, a ripple in reality itself, like a crack in the universe. At first, they didn't notice it. It was subtle, like a light breeze on a summer's day, barely noticeable. But then the city lights began to flicker, their brilliance dying only to return in strange, pulsing flashes. People looked up in confusion as the atmosphere seemed to shift, the world around them suddenly feeling off, as if reality itself was breaking apart at the seams. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the sky, a dark, twisted silhouette against the clouds. A being that seemed to be made of shadows and light, shifting in impossible ways. It was Vorix, the first of many alien supervillains to come, and he was no mere creature. He was a master of manipulating reality, a shape-shifting entity capable of warping time and space itself. Vorix brought with him an army of monsters that had the ability to twist the very nature of the world they invaded. The ground beneath them began to tremble, and the heroes knew that everything they had worked for was about to be tested. Their bond with humanity, their trust in each other, it all hung in the balance. The first attack came swiftly and without warning. It wasn't a bombardment of lasers or an alien invasion force landing from above. No, this attack was far more insidious. Reality itself began to bend and warp, and with it, the very fabric of the hero's world began to unravel. Superman, soaring through the sky, suddenly found himself trapped in a vision, a distorted reflection of his own past, where he saw the destruction of Krypton replaying over and over again. His heart raced as he tried to tear himself away from the haunting memory, but he couldn't escape. Was this a vision? Or was it real? In Metropolis, Iron Man's suits malfunctioned. His HUD flickered, showing bizarre, incomprehensible symbols. The technology he had once relied on seemed useless against the alien force, and Tony Stark was left helpless, stranded in a world where nothing made sense. Captain America gripped his shield tighter as the streets around him twisted, and the world around him shifted in ways that defied all logic. The very ground beneath him seemed to disappear, leaving him floating in an endless void. Each hero, in their own way, was faced with an impossible reality, one that pushed them to the brink. The heroes, once symbols of hope, were now in a fight for their own survival. And then, through the chaos, they heard the voice of Vorix, a voice that wasn't spoken, but felt deep within their minds. "You are all fools," Vorix's voice echoed in their minds, each word distorting reality further. "You think your power can stop me? Your reality is already mine to command." The invasion had begun, the invasion sequence. The world's peaceful facade began to crumble faster than anyone could comprehend. Metropolis, once a symbol of humanity's triumph, now trembled under the weight of an enemy none of Earth's mightiest could foresee. Superman hovered above the city, his eyes scanning the horizon, searching for something, anything, that could explain the strange ripple in reality. But everything felt wrong. The skyline shimmered in the distance, like an illusion on the edge of breaking. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted across the sky, and then nothing. Silence. Superman's heart raced as the air seemed to distort around him. His heat vision flared to life, but when he fired it, the blast didn't go straight. It spiraled away into the void, as if reality itself was unraveling. He stumbled in midair, disoriented. The peaceful city below, filled with people who had always trusted him, felt like a strange, alien world. Then it happened. A figure like a dark mirage appeared in front of him, its form constantly shifting, twisting, becoming something else with every blink. It was Vorax, the alien creature who had invaded Earth with the ability to bend and distort the very nature of existence. "You are not in control here, Kryptonian," Vorax's voice boomed, not from his lips, but from the deepest corners of Superman's mind. The ground below shifted into a nightmare version of the city, familiar streets now replaced by bizarre, warped images of Krypton. "This is my world now." Superman's mind raced. He tried to fight the mental onslaught, but every memory of his home planet's destruction flooded his mind, drowning him in pain. For a split second, he feared he was reliving Krypton's final moments. Back on the ground, the situation wasn't much better. Iron Man, hovering above a now chaotic metropolis, was having his own crisis. His suit's diagnostics flickered erratically, flashing warning signs in his HUD. The city around him distorted as the fabric of reality bent, and his usually precise suit began to malfunction. His weapons, once capable of leveling entire armies, were now unpredictable, firing at nothing but empty air. "This is insane," Tony Stark shouted, his voice betraying the panic he never let show. His usual confidence faltered for just a moment as he tried to recalibrate his suit. But the alien influence was too powerful. His own technology had become his enemy. "I need a system reboot." Before he could finish, the ground beneath him cracked open, and monstrous tendrils of shadow erupted from the earth. The city, once a symbol of human achievement, was now being consumed by the darkness. People screamed and ran in every direction, and Iron Man's heart sank as he realized he couldn't save them. His usual genius, his technology, wasn't enough. Just then, a burst of green light filled the sky. Thor, the god of thunder, had arrived. With a mighty swing of Mjolnir, he called down a storm that split the air with an ear-shattering crash of thunder. "Enough of this," Thor roared. "I will not let this abomination defile Midgard." He hurled Mjolnir with all his might, but as the hammer flew through the air, it disappeared mid-flight, vanishing into a strange rift in the sky. Thor's eyes widened in disbelief. He leapt into the air, attempting to follow the hammer, but his body was suddenly yanked back to the ground by an invisible force. In that instant, the skies darkened, and a chilling voice, Vorax's, echoed through the hero's minds once more. "Your might is futile, Asgardian. Time is but a plaything, and you are merely a puppet in my theater." Thor's confidence faltered as he struggled against the force that had him trapped. For the first time in his long life, he felt completely powerless. Meanwhile, in the streets of New York, Captain America found himself in a battle of a different kind. His shield, once a symbol of indomitable will, was now vibrating uncontrollably in his hand. As he tried to steady it, the world around him seemed to bend and twist. The New York skyline melted into a war-torn battlefield from the past, his memories of World War II coming to life before his eyes. He was back on the front lines, fighting alongside soldiers who no longer existed. The sounds of gunfire, the cries of comrades falling, the faces of lost friends, everything he'd fought for felt distant, slipping away from him. He gritted his teeth and shook his head, trying to shake the visions, but the more he resisted, the more powerful they became. "Focus, Steve," he muttered to himself, fighting the weight of his memories. The shield in his hand now felt heavier than it ever had before. Above, Spider-Man swung through the distorted streets of New York, his usual quips and humor silenced by the sheer horror of what was unfolding. His spider sense screamed in every direction, but it was useless. He couldn't track the alien threat. The city around him was constantly shifting, like a funhouse mirror, showing him versions of the world he could barely recognize. In a daze, he landed on a rooftop, breathing heavily. "What the heck is going on?" His words were more to himself than anyone else, his anxiety creeping through the cracks of his usual bravado. But that wasn't the worst of it. As Spider-Man gazed out at the chaos below, a terrible realization hit him. Every hero, every villain, every citizen was at the mercy of an enemy who didn't just bend reality. He controlled it. There was no escape, no backup. They were all trapped. In the center of the city, the heroes converged, each struggling to hold onto their sanity as the world around them collapsed. Their powers, their will, their unity, all of it was tested in ways they could never have anticipated. And as they gathered trying to regroup, they could feel the weight of Vorix's presence pressing down on them like a physical force. The alien mastermind was toying with them, making them question everything they had known. "This ends now," Superman said, shaking off the mental fog. "We're not giving up this time." Iron Man nodded, though his voice was strained. "Whatever takes." Thor, barely holding on to his strength, raised his eyes to the sky, determination burning through him. "Let us show this creature what it means to face the Avengers." But as they prepared to face the monstrosity that was Vorix, the heroes knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just a battle for Earth. It was a battle for their very reality. And nothing would ever be the same again. The Avengers had always been Earth's last line of defense. But as the world twisted and bent under the weight of Vorix's invasion, even their combined might felt insignificant. They stood together in the heart of a broken city, surrounded by the remnants of the reality they once knew. The air was thick with tension, the ground shifting beneath their feet as if the earth itself was alive, groaning in agony. Superman's fists clenched, his gaze locked on the sky. The familiar, comforting blue of the heavens was gone, replaced by a swirling void of shifting shapes and colors. Reality was no longer fixed, nothing was what it seemed. His breath came in shallow gasps, as memories of Krypton flooded his mind. He was losing himself, and every second of this invasion pushed him further from the humanity he fought so hard to protect. "I can't trust my own senses anymore," Superman muttered, the words barely escaping his lips. He turned to Iron Man, who hovered beside him, his suit flickering as his AI struggled to process the unstable data around them. "None of us can, Cal. Not even my suit can keep up with whatever this thing is doing," Tony Stark replied, his voice tinged with frustration. He'd always been able to rely on his tech to get him out of any situation, but now his once impenetrable armor felt like nothing more than a broken toy. Thor stood tall, his hammer Mjolnir crackling with faint blue sparks. But even the god of thunder was no match for the enemy they faced. "Vorix has bent our reality beyond recognition. This is not the fight we prepared for," Thor said, his voice heavy with disbelief. "Maybe not the fight we prepared for, but it's the one we've got," Captain America interrupted, stepping forward with his shield raised. His jaw was clenched, eyes steely. "We've fought things worse than this, and we've won. We'll figure out how to beat this thing too." Spider-Man, who had been quiet until now, swung down from a nearby building, his usual carefree demeanor replaced with a rare seriousness. "Cap's right. Whatever this thing is, we've got each other. That's what's going to get us through this." But even as the team rallied together, each hero knew deep down that something was wrong. This wasn't just another fight. This was a war for their very existence. And in this war, their greatest strength, unity, was already being tested. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a chilling voice filled the air. It was Vorix, his presence twisting through their minds like a dark storm cloud. "You think you can stop me? Your combined strength is a joke. This world, this reality, it belongs to me now. You will all bend to my will." The ground split open in front of them, and from the fissure emerged a new wave of Vorix's twisted creations, monstrous, shifting forms that defied logic and reason. They moved in unpredictable ways, phasing in and out of existence, making it impossible for the heroes to land a blow. Hulk roared from the distance, charging forward, his massive form crashing into the alien creatures with raw fury. But even as his fists pounded into the creatures, they reformed, regenerating in ways that made him question the limits of his strength. "I'll smash them all," Hulk bellowed, but his usual confidence seemed shaken by the creature's resilience. He turned to Captain America, eyes wild with frustration. They just keep coming back. We'll figure it out, Hulk. Just stay focused, Cap said. But even his usual calm demeanor seemed strained. As the battle intensified, Superman's doubts grew. He fought alongside the team, but each blow he struck fell hollow. The memories of Krypton haunted him, and the alien invaders' mental influence twisted his mind, reminding him of his greatest fears. Was he truly human or just an alien in disguise? Every punch he threw felt like an attempt to hold onto the one thing that made him Superman: his connection to Earth. Iron Man, despite his suit's failures, was still a genius. "Okay, we're not going to beat these things head-on," Tony said, his voice more determined than ever. "We need a new strategy. Let's push forward, use the terrain to our advantage, and—" Before he could finish, a massive alien creature lunged at him, its massive claws slashing through the air. Tony barely dodged in time, his heart racing. Right. New strategy. Maybe one with a little more running involved. Thor slammed Mjolnir into the ground, sending a shockwave through the battlefield that momentarily stunned the alien creatures, giving the team a small window to regroup. "We must stand together," Thor said, his voice unwavering. "Our strength is in our unity. If we fall apart now, we lose." Spider-Man, ever the optimist, jumped into the fray, his agility giving him an edge against the shifting creatures. "Unity, huh? Well, lucky for us, we've got a team full of some pretty big egos. Who needs reality when we've got each other?" But even with their combined powers, Vorix's grip on reality seemed unbreakable. The ground split, the air shimmered, and every move they made felt like they were fighting not just for victory, but for the very fabric of their existence. "We need to figure out how to stop him from controlling our reality," Superman said, his eyes narrowing in determination. "If we can't trust what we see or feel, we'll have to outsmart him." "That's where I come in," Tony said, his voice filled with the confidence that only he could muster. "I'll create a countermeasure. If we can disrupt his connection to this reality, we might be able to take him down." But just as the heroes began to regroup, Vorix's presence loomed large. "You think you can outsmart me? I am beyond your understanding, beyond your power. This is my world now." The battle was far from over, and the stakes had never been higher. As the Avengers fought on, they realized that this enemy was unlike anything they had ever faced before. They were not just fighting for victory, they were fighting for their very existence. And as the final clash loomed, one thing was certain: this was only the beginning. The alliance between the heroes, tested by doubt and fear, was the only thing standing between Earth and its ultimate destruction. Would their unity be enough to overcome Vorix's dark power, or would they lose everything they had fought for? Only time would tell. The battle against Vorix had torn the Avengers apart. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally. Each of them, at their core, was being broken down. Their greatest strength had always been their unity, but now, as reality twisted and bent around them, their trust in each other was being tested like never before. Superman hovered high above the wreckage of the city, his once bright eyes dimmed with doubt. The alien presence in his mind was unrelenting, a constant reminder of his greatest fear: losing his humanity. The images of Krypton's destruction replayed endlessly in his mind, and for a moment, he questioned his place in the world. Was he truly the protector of Earth, or was he just a weapon, waiting to unleash his power on everything he loved? His fists clenched, and his breath came faster as the weight of Vorix's mental manipulation crushed him. He could feel the pull of his past, the agony of watching his world die in his arms, as though the destruction of Krypton was still happening. He could hear the cries of his people, see his father's last, desperate look, and feel the emptiness of being the last son of a dead world. "I'm not like them," Superman whispered to himself. "I'm not a monster." But in that moment, he wasn't so sure. Down below, Iron Man fought alongside Thor, his armor flickering with intermittent power. The once untouchable genius of Tony Stark was now at odds with his greatest creation. The tech he relied on so heavily, the suits that had saved countless lives, now felt like nothing more than shackles. His usually flawless calculations were off, and he couldn't trust the systems that had always been his lifeline. Tony grimaced as his suit malfunctioned yet again, sending a shock of panic through his chest. "I can't do this. I can't even control my own tech anymore," he muttered, voice barely above a whisper. The fear gnawed at him, not of the aliens or the battle, but of failing those he'd promised to protect. Thor, sensing his friend's growing frustration, landed beside him, his hammer crackling with divine energy. "Tony, you must not let this doubt consume you. The battle is not lost yet." "But what if it is, Thor?" Tony's voice cracked. "What if I'm not enough this time?" Thor raised an eyebrow, stepping closer. "You are enough, Stark. You've always been enough. Your greatest strength is not your machines, it is your heart. Don't lose sight of that." Before Tony could respond, an explosion nearby sent them both flying. The ground beneath them cracked open, and the creature's Vorax had unleashed surged forward, faster than ever. The fight was far from over, but Tony's doubts remained, lingering in the back of his mind. In New York, Captain America faced his own demons. The distorted streets of the city had shifted once more, drawing him into a vision of his past. The war he fought in, one that seemed so far behind him, was now right in front of him, replaying with every step he took. As he walked through the battlefield, memories of his fallen soldiers, of Peggy Carter's face, and of the lives lost weighed down on him. His shield felt heavier than ever before, and every face he saw in the war zone was a reminder of the mistakes he thought he'd left behind. The voice of Vorax echoed through his mind, colder than ever. "You failed them, Steve Rogers. Your past is a series of regrets you can never undo. You will always be haunted by your mistakes." Captain America shook his head, his face twisting with pain. "No, I never gave up on them. I never gave up on anyone." But the uncertainty lingered. What if Vorax was right? What if his past would forever define him? Spider-Man, too, had been affected by the aliens' mental manipulations. His usual jokes were gone, replaced by the grim reality of the situation. He swung from building to building, dodging enemy forces, but every swing now felt harder, as if something was weighing him down. "This isn't what I signed up for," Peter mumbled, swinging high above the city. "I'm just a kid. I don't know if I can do this." The doubt in his voice was palpable. But then he thought of the people below, of the faces he'd promised to protect, and something stirred within him. He landed on a rooftop, staring at the destruction below. "No, I can't let this win. I'm not going to be the weak link." As the Avengers regrouped in the heart of the shattered city, the realization dawned on them. They had to defeat Vorax, not just with their fists, but with their hearts. They had to find the strength to face their inner fears, their doubts, and their pain. "You're not alone," Superman said, stepping forward, his voice steady. "None of us are." Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and Spider-Man stood together. The alien forces were closing in, but the Avengers had found their resolve. They were no longer just fighting for Earth. They were fighting for each other, for the humanity that connected them all. And then, just as the team braced for the final push, a new twist emerged. The ground split open, and a massive figure emerged from the darkness, a monstrous version of one of their own. It was Hulk, his rage unleashed, his form larger, more terrifying, and completely out of control. The Avengers' greatest strength now seemed to be their greatest threat. The ground trembled as Hulk's massive form loomed over the Avengers. His muscles rippled, his face contorted in pure rage, and his eyes burned with an intensity that made even the most formidable heroes step back in fear. The once unstoppable force of nature was now a terrifying weapon of destruction. The team had barely processed the magnitude of their fight against Vorax when they now had to face their own comrade, a mindless beast bent on destruction. "Hulk, no!" Captain America shouted, stepping forward, shield raised. But the Hulk only growled in response, his massive fist slamming into the ground, sending shockwaves that cracked the earth beneath them. Iron Man, his suit flickering as he recalibrated, flew into the fray. "This is bad, real bad," Tony muttered, trying to aim his repulsor blasts at the Hulk's massive form. But the moment the beams hit him, Hulk roared and shrugged them off, his strength growing with every blow. "This is it," Tony snapped, retreating momentarily to regain his footing. We're fighting two battles at once now. But Superman, his mind clearer now, stepped forward. The confusion and doubt that had plagued him were gone. He understood now, this wasn't just a fight of strength. It was about saving the soul of their team, finding a way to bring Hulk back from the edge. "Hulk, listen to me," Superman called out. "We're not enemies. We're your friends. Don't let Vorax control you." For a moment, there was a flicker of recognition in Hulk's wild eyes. He paused, his massive body trembling as if fighting against the alien force manipulating his mind. Superman stepped closer, his voice firm, but full of empathy. "We can fight together, Bruce. You don't have to do this. You are not a monster." The rage in Hulk's eyes wavered. It was a painful, desperate struggle within him. The alien manipulation was strong, but his human side, the part that had always fought to protect, fought back. "Please don't let him win," Superman pleaded. "You're part of this team. We need you." And then, with a primal roar that shook the skies, Hulk's rage subsided. The green giant staggered, his hands gripping his head as if trying to claw away the foreign influence. His breathing was heavy, but for the first time in what felt like forever, he was himself again. "Thanks, big guy," Tony quipped, flying in to support his teammate. "We'll save the planet now, yeah?" Just as the Avengers started to regroup, the skies above them twisted violently, as Vorax emerged, fully formed in all his reality-bending terror. "You think you've won? This is just the beginning." The battle with Vorax escalated, as the world around them seemed to bend and break. The ground cracked open beneath their feet, and the skies rained down lightning. But the Avengers were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their belief in each other. Superman led the charge, his strength now bolstered by his team. Hulk and Thor brought the raw power, Iron Man's tech played a pivotal role, and Captain America's leadership held them together. And Spider-Man, ever resourceful, used his agility to outmaneuver Vorax's forces. They knew this was it, the final push. But the price was steep. Every hit they took felt like they were losing part of themselves to the darkness that Vorax controlled. But together, they stood strong, their unity the key to overcoming the villain's power. Finally, with one last, unrelenting blast from Iron Man's suit, powered by the combined strength of Thor and Hulk's might, they broke through the distortion. Vorax's body began to fragment, his control over reality slipping. And then, with a final cry of frustration, he shattered into nothingness. The silence that followed was deafening. The city around them was in ruins, but the Avengers stood victorious. But there was no time to celebrate. As they looked at the devastation, one thing was clear. Their world had been forever changed. They had saved Earth, but at what cost? And just as the team began to regroup, a new, even darker shadow loomed on the horizon, something far more dangerous than anything they had faced before. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning.